my God, you guys, I was just super excited about going to bed early. I was like, I'm gonna get in bed before like it's 9 o'clock, right? It's like 9:06 when I'm filming this. But I was so excited that it's like, oh, I get to go to bed super early. And well, I normally go to bed like an hour later, but um yeah, and then I remembered I hadn't done this for you yet today. So I decided to just muster muster the energy and turn up and see what's there. So, what do I feel to speak about today? Oh, yeah. I talk about this a lot. Like, if you're on this channel, you'll notice it's like this similar themes again and again and again and again, right? Like the I think the core pillars of the things that I talk about are identity, transformation, um, perspectives, and relating. Really, like these are the main things I talk about. Everything fits into um, probably one of these core pillars, and so I had been having a conversation with someone recently, and you know those times where he said pretty much the same thing before, right? Pretty much the same things, maybe slightly different words, but somehow it landed differently. Like there are some books I read once a year because I know that every time I read them, I'm gonna receive them differently because I'll be at a different place in my evolution, in my development, in my receptivity, in my maturity, and it'll just hit different. It'll land different. So, yeah, there are some things that I I come back to time and time again. That's why I love the universal, principles, and yogic wisdom never grows old, right? Like ancient wisdom teachings never grow old. They are um, always wise. So yeah, this conversation that I had earlier today, somehow it landed. Somehow it landed. Basically, that I'll sum it up for you. So this may be of value for anyone who's ever struggled with marketing or to communicate the value of what they do. In my line of work, the standard thing that most people do, let me back up, preface it by saying the standard thing that most people do in marketing is speak to a pain point and a promise. And then it's like my program, process, protocol is the pathway between your pain or your problem and this promised land, right? Whatever this ideal state, whatever the person desires to achieve or create or accomplish, and it's tricky for me. It's so tricky for me. One, because I spend so much of my time just surrendering to what is. Like, this is what's here now. This is the moment. Like, the more we are in presence, true presence, the more problems disappear, problems vanish, and even pain. It's like, this is sensation. Sometimes sensation is intense, and like, yeah, it hurts, it aches, it's pain, but there isn't necessarily, like, you can acknowledge something's painful and not want to move away from it when you've had enough experiences of recognizing the pain is the medicine. The pain is the medicine because every time you move through the pain, there's more pleasure, right? There's greater I mean, I know that in my experience. It's like I move through pain and I experience more pleasure. Um yeah. Uh so Anyway, that's by the by. So his feedback to me was, you are offering something that nobody cares about. Nobody cares about TBT, Transcendental Brain Training. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, because you have not made the connection for them about how it's directly going to support them in one of the three things they care about, which is health, wealth, and relationships, right? Health, wealth, and relationships. And so he was saying, pick one and be explicit. And you only get to talk about your process and the program, the product, the protocol, after you have clearly outlined what's the problem, what's the pain point, and what's the promise. And so it's inviting me back to, like, okay, cool. So what is it that he's created for? Like, I live now relatively detached from emotional upheaval and mental anguish and chaos, but that wasn't always the case. Like, that used to be my norm. Like, once upon a time, depression and anxiety was my baseline. So it's invited me to call upon to summon the self that I once was, and really reconnect with that, and right from that space of embodied remembering, like, this was my this was my pain, this was my problem, and this was the promise. And the idea of, like, you can just feel at peace. Like, peace can exist always, regardless of what moves through. And I once upon a time, there wasn't anything I wouldn't have given to have that experience. And of course, that's how I found myself here, because I was prepared to do what it takes to find the teachers and mentors and invest in the programs and the work, like the resources, including the time, the hours of embodiment practices, so that it is my lived reality. But yeah, that was a landing for me today, this recognition. And what's come with it is this willingness to actually, instead of talking about, TBT, I'm more so going to start talking about, like, myself as a relationship coach, because ultimately that's what I ended up choosing. If it was like, if I have to choose one between those three, health, wealth, and relationships, I choose relationships because it's the thing that means the most to me. And because ultimately it's like our relationship with self is what's our relating with self is reflected in the relating with others. And then, of course, even with wealth, like, our relating with money is its own thing. So I feel like everything falls under that. And if I want to do, like, even with if I want to do work in business and things like that, I it still comes down to, how do we relate with our team? How do we relate with our customers? And it comes down to these fundamental principles of relating, which, of course, are echoed from universal principles, sages of the ages, and is a core part of the TBT modality, right? Like, what's the purpose of understanding this? Like, in the big picture, it's funny, it's ironic because um, in a self-realized state, in self-realization, it's like there are no others. You're not exactly relating with others. You're just seeing the yourself reflected back to you, the mirror of yourself. It's like, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. Like there's no um it, it doesn't feel like a sense of separation in that way. And simultaneously, to distinguish between an enmeshed state, simultaneously there is the recognition of, this is my body vehicle, this is that I have been bestowed to steward and take care of and honor and cherish and yeah, keep the instrument, the temple, so many different metaphors, vital and pure, and it has its own intelligence, of course, right? The body is full of its own intelligence, all by divine design. So every seeming paradox can be reconciled by just transcending that level of consciousness and moving one kind of, you peel that layer off and you're like, okay, and then you're like, oh, those two things that seem different, they're actually the same. And that happens again and again and again and again until there really just isn't that much that's different. And also, that is a big freaking stretch for most people. I'm often told that. Like I'm regularly told that I lose people in my communicating. It doesn't make sense because I don't I don't go to their bus stop first or meet them where they are. And that's never been an issue when I'm with someone, because I can feel in presence, right? In presence, I can feel energetically, I can feel what is it to say, right? It just happens. Intuitive intelligence just takes over, and it's like, I say the thing that they need to hear. And that's why all of my clients have only ever come through in-person type of experiences, like events, networking events, speaking events, referrals that have led to conversations. So it's always come from that avenue. But when it comes to my writing, which is the thing that I'm focused on at the moment, my key goal is to better understand where people are so I can meet them there and not create confusion or resistance in their minds, which, confusion does create resistance for a lot of people. Because there isn't the awareness that confusion precedes clarity. There isn't an excitement about confusion. It's kind of like, oh, I'm confused, I must be doing something wrong, or, which I remember what that was like too. So it's not that I don't completely get it. Like, I really, really, truly do. I remember what that was like for me when that was my lived experience. So, yeah, it's just interesting. Anyway, I would like to go to bed, so I am going to quickly upload this. And and thank you for watching. Thank you for your presence, for being here, for caring. Feel welcome to give me feedback if there's anything you feel to share. I love your comments. Sending you so much love.